Are you perverting or forsaking experiences in love? Welcome to the Daily Devo. I am Vince Miller. This week we're reading 1 Samuel chapter 18. I've titled this chapter Allies and Adversaries. Allies and Adversaries. So David at this moment comes back from defeating the giant Goliath. He's speaking with Saul. He has the head of Goliath in his hand, the giant head probably swung over his shoulder, holding it and gripping it by his measly hair. And now we pick up in verse 1. I'm just going to read a couple of verses down. As soon as he, that's David, had finished speaking to Saul, the soul of Jonathan was knit to the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. And Saul took him that day and would not let him return to his father's house. Then Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as his own soul. And Jonathan stripped himself of the robe that was on him, gave it to David, and his armor, and even his sword, and his bow, and his belt. Now, this is a pretty profound moment right here. We have to remember that Jonathan is at least 20, maybe 30 years older than David. And I believe what Jonathan has seen here on the battlefield has created a connection for him with David. He sees his courage and his faith and his trust in the Lord, and he's drawn to him in a way that he isn't drawn to anybody else. And what we witness here is a very deep, soulful connection between two men, Jonathan and David. And you're going to see love for David all over this chapter. In fact, I put 5 references to love of David in the comments below. You should read through them because it's not only Jonathan that loves David. It's all Israel and Judah, and then this daughter of King Saul, Michal, or we sometimes pronounce her name Michal. So Michal loves David. Multiple times we see that here, and you'll see that story unfold. But let's note this. There is something unique and special about this brotherly affection or spiritual love here. It's very distinct and fulfilling, soul-filling in a way that I believe some observers do not understand and even misinterpret. You know, I have experienced this soulful love numerous times in my ministry and in my spiritual life. Jesus, in fact, referenced this soulful love in Matthew chapter 12 when he was in this crowded house and his biological family was outside of the house waiting for him, and someone notices, hey, that your mother and your brothers are outside waiting for you. And Jesus replies, stretching out his hand toward his disciples, saying, "Here are my mother and my brothers, for whoever does the will of my Father in heaven," my Father, notice a reference to Father here, "is my brother and sister and mother." So what Jesus is referencing here in Matthew chapter 12, that I think is also drawn out here in 1 Samuel chapter 18, is the divine family that we're all adopted into under a heavenly Father. And the fact that this relationship between us and God, the Father, and us and each other, brothers and sisters, enjoys certain benefits and priorities that transcend those of even our biological family. Now, in my opinion, and biblically, I believe the gay community loves to hijack this story here and this love between David and Jonathan and misinterpret it and twist this relationship. They love to use it as textual support for homosexual love and relationships, when, by the way, there is no evidence of this anywhere in the Bible between these two men. They read homosexual love into this text. That's called eisegesis instead of exegesis, to read into instead of read out of, which then eisegesis twists and perverts the beauty of the love that these two men have, simply because the gay community doesn't understand the profound connection of true spiritual love. Now, while the gay community perverts love in this instance, many in the Christian community forsake it. They pervert it, we forsake it. Believers often miss out on the experience of true spiritual love because We're not committed to a community of faith. I mean, we get saved, we love that. We may attend a church, we like that. But if we're not connected within the community, we behave like consumers. And Christian consumers miss out on the soulful experience of true spiritual love. And when we don't experience it, this has this ongoing effect on spiritual love because we're not in it. We don't talk about it. We don't share it. We don't extend it. Now, I want you to know, I experience spiritual love with believers all the time. And it's not sexual, but it is soul filling. And these soulful friends of mine are closer than a biological brother. Proverbs 18:24. They pour into me, I pour into them, back and forth, and I have no problem leaving a conversation with them declaring, I love you, brother. I love you, man. And I think every believer wants to know this. And I believe Jesus wants you to enjoy it. But to experience it, you got to stop forsaking it or perverting it too. Because spiritual love is only found in the family of faith. Only you can take the needed initiative and insert yourself into a relationship with believers. And it's hard work. It will take some time and effort, but once you experience it, you will know what it means to be knit to the soul of another. You should experience what David and Jonathan experienced here, that soulful knitting to another brother or another sister, and then you will know what's so special about being in the family of God. I love you guys. I pray this has blessed you. If it has, share it with someone else. I'll see you right back here again tomorrow.